What if I told you that your body has the ability to heal itself? That you're not actually helpless and hopeless in this world that tells you you need to depend on everything outside of you to find health within? We're experiencing a paradigm shift around the world right now. We're finding that we no longer have to depend helplessly and hopelessly on everything outside of us. But we have all the resources and all the tools to experience balance and health within our bodies once again. Why this whole thing is happening, how we're sitting here today. And it all started with a technology that you got in the past called the Energy Enhancement System technology.
Yep.
And over the past year specifically, a lot of awareness has been being built on that. And I know your friend Dan came to you and said, "Do you know what you have in your home?" And then
Yes.
that started piquing interest. And, here we are sitting here today with more systems coming your way to have that technology in your home. But
So I was in Australia and I knew I needed to get some hyperbaric oxygen. I needed to feed my nervous system that oxygen. I've been pushing so hard. And so I called this facility, said, great, I come over. And then they said, well, we're sorry, we're running a little late. Do you mind waiting in the meditation room? Sure. So I sit in the meditation room. It's kind of weird. I see these 4 computers with this code going across it. It's like, that's interesting. And so I'm sitting there, I'm reading everything else, and I felt myself just starting to like, I was in there for only like 20 minutes, and I started feeling myself like just dropping down, like really like relaxed, but like more relaxed than I was ready for. And so I came out. I said, "What are those devices?" Oh, they said, "It's this EE system." And I said, "What is it?" They said, "Well, they tried to explain it to me. They weren't really good at explaining it. Or I wasn't good at understanding it. Maybe it was my fault." But I knew something about different types of waves electronically and what it does to the cells in the body. I've obviously studied some of that, so interesting. But I'm skeptical still. I thought, well, maybe I was just really tired, but felt profound. So I called my wife Sage and my trainer Billy and another member of my family, Mary, and I said, come over here and get a massage or something, but I want you to sit in this thing and just tell me what you experience. And everybody had this experience. So I got back, I called, and I said, explain to me how this works. They did. And I said, what's the biggest units you've got? Because I got to charge this body up, right? Because they're talking about charges, the electrical charges in the cells, recharges the body. And so I said, well, I have this room, this salt room I built. And it's where we do our massages and meditations and so forth. And I said, what's the most you've ever done? And at that point, it was 16. And so they put these 16, they built it in, it looked beautiful. And people come in and go, what the hell is this? And after a little period of time, you feel it. And then I'm talking to my buddy Dan, who's obsessed like I am. He's always looking for breakthroughs. He's a bodybuilder and a race car driver, and he has the Beverly Hills, center, rejuvenation center that he brings and takes all these celebrity and turns them around. And we both use exosomes, and we're just like we pitch and catch with each other. Fantastic, brilliant guy. And so he calls up, and he's an enthusiastic guy anyway, but he is so passionate. He goes, Tony, I've had this experience. And he goes, mom. And he starts describing this. I said, I think I have that. I said, I have a room of that.
As I said, do you realize what you've got? I go, let me tell you what this technology just did for my life. And so I told Sage my story, and she said, that's amazing. She goes, I didn't know.
I said, tell me about your experience. So he told me about a friend of his who had Parkinson's and how they went in for this session and felt better. And after 3 or 4 days, there was no tremor. Like, what? And he goes, and this other person, and he started telling stories. And some of it, but I know he's as skeptical as I am.
I was very skeptical. I'm sitting in this room with these computer screens, and I'm going, this just looks crazy. It really did not strike me as something that would really fix my problem. I can guarantee you that.
Because I know, Tony, it sounds absurd. He goes, but he's had this challenges, I'm sure he'll explain it to me, interview him, on his shoulders that are just brutal because he's just overlifted weights for years. And he's a race car driver. I mean, everything's pedal to the metal. It's a perfect metaphor for my friend.
About 13 years ago or so, I went into an orthopedic doc. I had such chronic shoulder pain, both shoulders just so bad that I couldn't sleep, and it got so bad. I thought I had severe tendonitis. So I go in, this guy takes an x-ray of my shoulders, and he said, sir, he goes, I've never even seen this level of damage. He goes, half your humerus bones are gone. He goes, I didn't even know you could damage shoulders this bad. And he goes, you're done. And I go, what do you mean I'm done? And he said, you're done with everything. Your racing is done. Your weight training is done. That's it. It's all got to stop.
And he goes, Tony, I went in there for 3 hours and I felt nothing. After all this buildup, he said, I felt nothing.
And I just didn't really feel a big difference the first time. I'd love to say it was just amazing right off the bat, but it wasn't.
So I thought, well, I've done too much damage, you know, it's going to take something different than that. And he goes, then a few days later, I thought, what the hell? Some of the other people talked about going there and sleeping there.
I didn't have any solutions. I thought, well, I'm going to just try it again. What do I got to lose? I'm suffering so damn bad. So I came back the next day, 6 hours, and I walked out of that place pain free. It was so amazing. I was, I couldn't even believe it. I went home that night and slept through the night. I don't know what the hell's going on in that place, but I said, I haven't felt like this in 12, 13 years. My energy was phenomenal. And see, I had sleep deprivation too. So I felt so good. So I was going about once a week for 6 hours at a time, and it would knock me completely pain free. And then eventually, after a few months, I got to the point where I was going 3 days without pain, and then eventually 4 days without pain. By month 8, I'm going a full week without pain now. Like, I'm going from 1 week to the next. I don't have shoulder pain anymore. It's knocked it completely out. I don't care what anyone says. All I can tell you is this: it's changed my life so much. It literally saved me. I don't know what else I would have ever done had I not found this, because I was essentially running into a position where I wasn't going to have much time left and to do those kind of things. I was just going to become somebody that used to be. Well, I looked at Dr. Michaels and I said, "Do you understand what you've done for me? You literally gave me my life back." And I said, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to put so much energy into sharing this with others, people who are suffering, people who want their health back. Anybody that I talk to, if they're struggling with any kind of pain or suffering, or just want to feel great again. And I just think this is the most amazing technology. I couldn't recommend it more to anyone.
So he goes, Tony, you understand, I've been having a hard time sleeping 1 or 2 hours in a row. And he goes, I can't believe you have this. You have this in your home. He said, I said, well, tell me about it. He goes, no, now they stack it. They do 24. They do this. I said, no, I think I have 16. He goes, no, but it's not. And then I talked to Dr. Michael, and she was saying, no, it's not arithmetic. It's geometric. And also the screens are bigger than the ones I have. What's the downside of this? There's only upside as far as I can see from this component. And then I called Dr. Michael and I got her to describe more of it. But I'd like to ask you, will you explain the science to everybody? Explain it to me as well. I'd love to hear, why does this work? Because there's 2 different types of waves we're dealing with here, right? So can you walk me through that?
Absolutely. So I'm glad we're all on the same page of skepticism, because I think that's important. There's some
Me too.
people
I
that
didn't
go
put
in,
anything here that didn't have all the science behind it,
it's
right?
extremely important, because when you try to poke holes in things and then you find out, wait, I can't, well, then you actually know how something's working.
Yeah.
So there's a long version and there's a short version of explaining this. So I'll make the 3-minute version to the best of my ability
Okay.
of explaining how this technology works. Basically, there's 2 different types of fields. There's a scalar field and there's a biophotonic field. As you know, photons are just another word for light. Simplistically speaking, you could see the energy enhancement system as like a cellular charger. The optimal state of our cells and its charge is 70 to 90 millivolts.
Yep.
When you go to 20 and below, you have cancer, heart disease,
Body
things like
starts
that.
break down. That's right.
It's all about charging those cells. So really, health exists within the body. It's not outside. If you can charge those cells, you'll render an environment to be able to experience health as opposed to disease. You also happen to sync to the environment that you're in. It's almost like menstrual cycles with women. We know it's not contagious, but they sync to a bioresonant field around them, and they all start experiencing the same expression at the same time, which is, in that case, the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
So when
Same thing happens with clocks. If you go to a clock, and you'll see the clocks, they all line up all of a sudden.
It
Same
syncs
exact
for the most part.
They're all different, and then they'll line up. Right?
Exactly. So with that cellular charge, if you're in an environment of a 20 millivolt charge, it's going to be much harder for your cells to get to that 70 to 90 range. If you're in an environment of 70 to 90 millivolts, well, then it becomes a cellular charger for your cell. It's like plugging your body into that, outlet to be able to charge the cells.
Yeah.
So that's a simple way of answering it.
Yeah.
But a little more expansive version of it is you have a scalar field that is generating and a biophotonic field that is generating.
A scalar wave will go through walls. It'll go for miles.
Scalar wave goes through Earth. It creates that torsion field that has no limit of time and space because it's beyond that. It's actually faster than the speed of light, 1.4 times the speed of light, which is what scalar basically is.
Yeah.
So with your scalar field, The science behind it is you take two identical electromagnetic fields and align them in perfect proximity with each other. That merge point will create a scalar field, which is a torsion field. That torsion field, the toroidal field, which is the natural form, energetic field of everything when it comes to creation as we know it, is what our body is always trying to come back to. Your heart, your body, all the way to planet Earth.
Yeah.
When you tune back into that torsion field, your body experiences balance over disease, health over disease.
Yes.
So it's really not the technology that's healing you. That's not how it works. It's your body healing itself, and the technology provides the proper environment to do it.
Because also you have all these electromagnetic waves that we have today. They're on our wrists, they're in our pockets, they're everywhere else. And it, from what I understand, it also helps to create that balance, to bring you back to that balance as well.
What it does is, a lot of people say it blocks it. It doesn't block it.
No, no, no.
It transmutes it. It takes distorted fields and turns it into coherent fields. And when you're standing in a coherent field of energy, aka that scalar field, the torsion field, you're able to experience coherence. That's one side. The other side is your biophotonic light. So through color therapy, polychromatic light, which is all those different colors that you see on those screens, through photons, light hitting themselves in the center of that room. That's why they're perfectly aligned like you have in your room right now.
Yes.
And you will have with the 24 unit systems. You have an implosion of these photons, and that implosion creates a charge, 70 to 90 millivolts, rendering an environment that your body will sync to at 70 to 90 millivolts, thus charging the cells of your body.
Yep.
So it sounds crazy when you go the quantum physics level of it and explain it on that level, but you could break it down. And in short, it's creating a balanced environment that your body is tuning into and bringing itself back into balance, because that's what your body's always trying to do. Give it the proper environment, it will do just that.
It's interesting because there's a doctor that I have in Dallas that I've sent, I think 6 people to that were all terminal, from a young boy that had testicular cancer and was given 3 months to live. It's 3 years ago. He's totally healthy today. To somebody with glioblastoma, which I know is pretty brutal, brain cancer. And everything he does is to measure those fields in the body and to restore them to that balance. You know, he talks about 60, 70, 50 to 70. And I actually have a device that you can measure with so you can see it. So I'm real excited to see where I am and then go into the field for that period of time and see what the pieces are. It'll be an interesting way to measure it. I also think it'll be great for hormonally to see what happens for my family as well, because the hormones affect so much of your life and they're affected by so many different elements. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, you know, the quality of your life is the quality of life of yourself. And they are these mini, forces of energy. And that's why I try to tell people, life force to me, that's what it's all about. Life force is the force of energy. It's the energy of your life. But the quality of the life of your cells is the quality of life of your organs, the quality of life of your body is the quality of your life. So anything that can enhance that, that's why I'm personally so immersed in this and so excited about this.
It's going to be unbelievable. I look forward to hearing your direct experiences now, with that 24 unit, having it aligned without the plexiglass and really doing the proper tests. Like you're saying, you can even do live blood analysis, see what happens, see what happens before and after.
Yes.
Somebody like you,
my
you
wife
have the
does
tools
that for
to
a
do it.
living. Not for a living anymore. That's how I met her.
Yeah.
So she was doing my live blood analysis, how I got to meet her. So we'll do that. We'll do the microscopic view. That's a great way to take a look at what the impact is in seconds.
100%.
But also, regardless of the science of anything, the best test of anything is, what does it do to you, right? We're all somewhat unique, but the fundamentals are still the same. It's all bioelectrical energy that makes us alive. And if we can enhance that, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Right now, there's about 2,000 pages of research.
Wow.
I'm working on making that even better so people can actually see more direct forms of how does this work. And like you said, beyond just what you read on that piece of paper, what's your experience?
Yes.
For me, what really got me was seeing it happen across the board. Thousands. And when I say thousands, I mean I get emails all the time with people from all around the world saying the same exact thing. When it comes to strokes, when it comes to children that have speech impediments, when it comes to depression, anxiety, people that don't know each other are telling me the same story over and over and over again. Now, that's not quite a controlled study, but to me, that's evidence right in front of your face, because you don't have that if it's not happening across the board.
My whole view was, even if it was a placebo, if it worked, why would you use it, right? Because placebos are powerful. The more powerful the entry, the more impact. But this seems to go beyond placebo from what I'm seeing so far.
With the dog,
Yes.
it's been happening with animals all around.
That's a good point.